Because I run a job board, I talk to applicants almost every day. And many of the people I meet make the same mistake. They have no clear job search goals. So they apply everywhere, every day, all day long. You might think it's smart to send lots of applications. After all, it's a numbers game, right? It's not. The more you narrow your search, the easier everything gets, and the happier you'll be in your next job. Stop chasing every lead. Instead, focus on what you really want. Now, figuring out your goals can be hard, but we have a MaxList resource that can help. Finding focus in your job search. Go to maxlist.org/focus. Our free step-by-step MaxList guide will help you create your own job search goals. Get your copy today. Visit maxlist.org/focus. Again, that's maxlist.org/focus. This is Find Your Dream Job, the podcast that helps you get hired, have the career you want, and make a difference in life. I'm your host, Mac Pritchard. I'm also the founder of MaxList. It's a job board in the Pacific Northwest that helps you find a fulfilling career. Every Wednesday, I talk to a different expert about the tools you need to get the work you want. Good networking isn't about collecting business cards. It's about getting the people you know and meet to help you. And not only during a job search, but throughout your career. Lisa Virtue is here to talk about how to make your network work for you. She's an executive coach who helps you take actionable steps to make your career goals reality. Lisa joins us from Portland, Oregon. Well, let's jump right into it, Lisa. Many job seekers, they just don't like networking. Why do you think this is so?
Oh, it's so common, isn't it, to hear networking, just the word alone, and have an implicit bias as negative. So one thing I've seen with our American culture is we have a long history of negative connotation when it comes to the word networking. And that's often associated with things like pyramid schemes or dirty salesmen. I think Hollywood's done a good job of feeding that implicit bias. So people also don't want to appear as if they're using others. I've seen that a lot with my clients as well, and talking to people about this topic. So you combine that with family and friend time that discourages us to talk about work. And often people don't even know what people in their personal life do for work or what kind of networks they have and opportunities that could be available.
How does networking help you when you're looking for work, when you're doing a job search, Lisa?
The number one way that it can help is finding those opportunities that sometimes are not even posted and what is called social proof. So when people are looking for an opportunity and they throw their application in, if the recruiter or the hiring manager knows that someone else has said it's really great to work with this person, then that is when they rise to the top of the pile and it will get your resume looked at. And if there are really strong referrals and recommendations in that job search, then that's when you've got those opportunities at your fingertips. Otherwise, it's just a little bit harder to get to the top of the pile.
I want to talk about those referrals in a moment, but before we get there, can you find a job without networking, Lisa? Is it possible to do that?
It is possible, for sure. What I find fascinating is that anytime I'm talking to someone as a career coach, when I'm talking with job seekers in particular, and they're saying how daunting the job search is right now, and it's been a few years since they've needed to look for a job, and they just can't believe the market, and we go back and we evaluate how they got their past positions, more often than not, it's, oh yeah, someone referred me to that. Oh yeah, I knew someone at the company. That's how I got that opportunity. So there's a lot of different statistics out there. Sometimes people are saying 60% of jobs are never even posted because they've got a network that finds the right candidates. Other recruiters will say they post everything, but referrals will definitely help, like I said earlier, rise their resume to the top of the pile. So it is possible. People have gotten jobs by just applying, but more and more so we're seeing that percentage of having a recommendation or that social proof in a referral is more important to unlock those opportunities.
So getting referrals, creating social proof, those are two results that good networking can produce. What are other examples of what good networking looks like when you're doing a job search?
One thing that it really helps with as well is to build that confidence and help someone, even with their mindset as they approach the daunting task of a job search, having people in your corner that you can have conversations with, have virtual or in-person coffee chats with. I find that it really helps people a lot on the kind of the mental game of the job search, if you will, and having that support. So a network is also a beautiful thing to have relationships where you're not in the workplace. Maybe you've experienced a layoff, for instance, and you're not at work daily and you're not having those interactions. Having a really strong network of people that you can call upon and chat with and talk to will really help through that stressful experience.
You're a career coach. You work with a lot of job seekers on a regular basis. In your experience, do most candidates have good networking skills?
Most, no. And that's why we hear about thousands of applications and people getting really frustrated. I will say that there are a lot of candidates that have good skills and don't realize it. I think that's where people have more opportunity to really lean into it. And like we were talking about at the beginning of the conversation, where you've got this implicit bias or this feeling of I'm using someone if I reach out to them. Networking is really that long game. So it's something to always be doing, and it's cultivating relationships more than the word networking. Because when we have those relationships strong and warm, opportunities come from them, as opposed to when you're in the job search and all of a sudden you think, oh my goodness, I need to go network. That's when it can be really difficult to unlock those opportunities because you're starting, it's like a cold call in sales. You're starting very cold. So making sure we're doing that in the long game is going to make all the difference.
Can you network successfully if you're introverted? Do you have to be an extrovert to be good at networking?
You absolutely do not need to be an extrovert. And in fact, a lot of my clients who are introverts are the best networkers that I've seen. And the reason for that is because a superpower a lot of introverts have is building that one-on-one personal connection versus being really comfortable in networking events, kind of that traditional connotation that we put with the word when you go to a big event and you're passing out cards and you're meeting people. That's more of an extrovert's strength. But introverts are really good. Typically, in my experience, I've seen them be really good at cultivating those one-on-one relationships and reaching out one-on-one. So when they do that work, it's the same outcome as an extrovert that is really experienced and comfortable with those bigger events.
Often when I talk to candidates about networking, I'll hear that, well, why would someone help me? Particularly someone I've only just met or know slightly or maybe don't know at all. What's been your experience with that, Lisa, and your work with your clients?
I think reminding people that people want to help, they just don't always know how to help is really important to remember. And when we talk about networking and building those relationships, it's really a two-way street. Sometimes you might have a mentor in your network or someone that's a more higher position of authority that can unlock opportunities more than you can for them. But even allowing them to help you is helping them. So there's always two sides of the relationship. And when you approach it that way, building those relationships and also offering help, very specific help to people in your network as well, it's really a quid pro quo where both parties are benefiting from the relationship.
Another concern I hear from applicants who are struggling with networking is they might think they have no contacts. What do you say to a listener who thinks they don't have a network or they don't know the right people?
Well, I have an exercise for that, which is I call it the list of 20. And that is just taking the time to sit down and write out 20 people in your world that want the best for you. And this can also be family, friends, anyone that you are in contact with regularly that you know is supportive and has been supportive. And then going from there, if you have more than 20, just keep writing. In one column, you're writing their name. The next column, how do you know them? What do they do for work? And then the third column is, when's the last time you just reached out to say hello? And what I find is people that feel like they don't have a network that can support them end up finding at least a half a dozen, if not more, people that they can take that first move with and go out and have those conversations, find out more maybe about their work. For instance, what does Uncle Larry do? Have you ever talked to him? Do you know what kind of network he has? So making sure that you just sit back and do the work, and it will come. Everyone has a network. It's just about, have you been cultivating it and thinking of it in those terms?
Well, let's take a break. And that's a great segue to our next segment, where I really want to dig into how to network and especially how to make the most of referrals. So stay with us. When we come back, Lisa Virtue will continue to share her advice on how to make your network work for you. One in 5 Americans have learned a new language on their bucket list. If that's you, make 2024 the year you finally check it off the list with Babbel. Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons are handcrafted by more than 200 language experts to help you start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks. I use Babbel's courses to maintain and improve my Spanish, and I see the benefits every day. I especially enjoy the Babbel Live classes. They're available 7 days a week at any time of day and taught by more than 450 certified teachers. Here's a special limited time deal for our listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/dreamjob. That's spelled BABBEL.com/dreamjob. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Whoa. Landing an account this big will totally change my landscaping business. It's going to mean hiring more guys and more equipment and new trucks for the new guys to drive the new equipment in. I don't know if I'm ready.
You can do this, and Ford Pro FinSimple can help. Our experts are ready to make growing pains less painful for your business with flexible financing solutions that meet the needs of your business today when you need them. Get started at fordpro.com/financing.
We're back in the Max List studio. I'm talking with Lisa Virtue. She's an executive coach who helps you take actionable steps to make your career goals reality. Lisa joins us from Portland, Oregon. Now, Lisa, before the break, we were talking about how to make your network work for you, and we talked through a lot of the questions candidates and applicants often have about networking and the strengths and assets they everybody has when they're getting ready to connect with their network during a job search. Let's talk about the how to do networking. I know one of your first pieces of advice, and you touched on this in the first segment, is to remember that networking is a long game. Talk more, Lisa, about why it's important to keep this in mind.
It's so important to think of it as relationship. Human beings are social creatures, and the workplace is no exception to that. So we want to work with people that we enjoy to be around, that we get along with, that not only fulfills the skills of the job, but also that we trust. And so that's why in the job search, that really comes down to that social proof. So as you're in a job and you're working, even when you start a new position, it's really important to think about what kind of relationships can I build here at work. Even LinkedIn, the best time to connect with people is not when you're leaving a position on LinkedIn, but it's when you're entering a new role. So trying to think of it from the beginning of a position, a project, anytime you're meeting someone for the first time, looking at that relationship and trying to cultivate it ends up helping you in that long run when they need something that you can help them with and when you need something from them as well.
What's your best advice about how to build relationships in a way that is both authentic and productive and, it isn't simply transactional?
I think that's the key right there, is to not just be transactional about it. It is very easy at work to get into the flow. And a lot of times when I'm talking with people about how to shift the mindset, one thing to think about is people want to connect. And when you're worried about taking too much time from someone, oh, thank you, your time is precious, I really value it, I appreciate your time, that tends to be when we discredit the amount of time it does take to build relationships. So making sure we're building in that time and we're allowing room to breathe and create connections on a personal scale and talking to people about their personal life as well as their work life, when it doesn't detract from the task at hand, I think is really important for everyone to keep in mind. I have a lot of clients that will run through their day and think later, oh, I could have stopped and I could have asked just a simple question about how their weekend went, and I didn't do that. So thinking about those opportunities will help with this.
Are there good habits that focus on building authentic relationships that you recommend people adopt not only during a job search, but throughout your career?
One really simple habit I was just talking to a client about, she's in a leadership role, is just stopping and making eye contact and smiling can slow down the pace of the interaction and the relationship. So that's one great habit to do right at the beginning of a conversation or an interaction with other humans at work. Another habit would be anytime you can do coffees with colleagues, either taking a quick walk and a break, and you can still chat about work. So that could make it an excuse that it's not taking time from the day. But that always allows, when we get up and we move and we get out of our environment, it always opens up more possibility and allows for more conversations that come away from work and build more of that personal rapport.
Let's talk about referrals. You mentioned referrals and how important they are in the hiring process in the first segment. Why do employers care so much about referrals?
I think that's a summary of everything we've been talking about. For instance, social proof. We want to know that this person not only can do the job, but they're going to do it in a way that we can trust their work. We want to know that they're a good person to work with. If recruiters and hiring managers can cut through hundreds, if not thousands sometimes, of applications to know who in this pile are good people to work with that we, others have recommended, that will always just quicken the process. A lot of times interviews can be very robotic and hard to really know someone on a personal level. So when we hear social proof of someone else saying that they've worked with them and they worked really well with them, that's where it becomes really helpful in the recruitment process.
I know in your coaching work, you've identified 3 kinds of referrals that really matter: blind referrals, direct referrals, and trusted referrals. And what I'd like to do, Lisa, is just walk through each one and talk about why they matter, how they work, and how you can get one. Let's start with blind referrals. What do you have in mind here? What is a blind referral, and why does it matter, and how can you generate one?
Yeah, a blind referral is very similar. If you think about when you're online shopping, let's take this analogy, and you're looking at other people's reviews, people you've never met before, and you're seeing, 5-star reviews. Okay, that's social proofing, but it's blind because you don't know the other person. So when it comes to a job search, a blind referral is when someone sends a good word on your behalf to the hiring manager and talks about how they've worked with you, in what capacity, and that you're a great candidate and it would be worthwhile to have a conversation with them. This piques that interest of the hiring manager to take a look at your resume and want to have a conversation with you because someone has gone out of their way to say that you're a great person to work with. So that's what I call a blind referral.
And is that something that you can make happen? Is someone making that referral at your request, or what's happening here?
Yeah, sometimes it can happen organically when you're talking to someone and you're telling them, this sounds like a great opportunity. I've put my name in the hat. I've applied. Then if the other person is aware of this tactic, they may go out of their way and help and send a good word on your behalf. But what I find more often is that, again, people want to help, but they don't know how to. So you can absolutely initiate this and ask your contact, someone within that network of yours with a strong relationship, would you be willing to send a quick email on my behalf to the hiring manager? Because I'm really excited about this opportunity and I'd love to get an interview. And so you help them draft a really quick email and ask them very specifically, sending it to this email address. And people are more than willing to help out with that. It only takes them 5 to 10 minutes. And it's a very specific way they can help you. So when you make that ask of your contacts, that's how you can unlock a blind referral.
What about direct referrals? What's a direct referral, Lisa? And how do you get one?
A direct referral looks more like someone internal to the company directly referring you. So a lot of companies have even incentives for current employees to refer people to certain roles. So if there is an opportunity that you know someone that works at the organization, or even a third degree connection where it's a friend of yours that knows someone, having a direct referral within the organization, say, I'm referring this person, you should interview them. That's what a direct referral is, a little more direct to the organization.
And how do you make that happen?
The way to make that happen is to also initiate, reach out, keep your eye on your network. This is where platforms like LinkedIn are great, because it started out as a networking platform where you can see second degree connections and third degree connections within your network. And so if you don't know someone directly at that company, but you know, let's say your colleague Sally knows someone or is now at that company, then now you can go reach out to them and find out how you can get referred in the organization.
The third kind of referral you recommend people explore and get are trusted referrals. What's a trusted referral, and how do you make it happen?
So a trusted referral is when the hiring manager, the person responsible for the hiring decision, has a trusted confidant, friend, relative, someone in their personal first degree connection network that comes to them and says, oh, you're looking for, let's say it's a director of marketing. I know someone. I think you should check them out. You should meet them. And they do an introduction, or they pass the information on to the hiring manager. So that trusted referral is really coming from a very trusted source of the decision maker within the recruiting process. Now, the way to make that happen is to keep all of your relationships, your network very warm, so that when they have this, and make sure they know what you're looking for as well. So when they do have that opportunity to refer you, they're typically, in this case, they're going to take that first step, and they're going to say, oh, I know that my friend over here at XYZ company is looking for a director of marketing. I think you'd be great. May I make an introduction? Would you like an introduction? So they're going to be primed and looking for those opportunities because you've planted the seed with those people.
Well, it's been a terrific conversation, Lisa. Now tell us, what's next for you?
I am so happy to announce that this year I have launched my passion project, which is helping mid-career women unlock opportunities and help them thrive at work so they can thrive in life. And my platform is hercareerstudio.com. I also have a podcast, Her Career Studio. And so I'd love for people to check out the free resources we're offering when it comes to job search, leadership development, anything specific to women at work where they need help to help their career grow.
Terrific. I know that listeners can learn more about your work, your services, and your podcast by visiting your website. And that URL again is hercareerstudio.com. We'll be sure to include that in the show notes. And you also invite listeners to connect with you on LinkedIn. And when they do reach out to you, I hope they'll mention they heard you on Find Your Dream Job. Now, Lisa, given all the great advice you've shared today, what's the one thing you want a listener to remember about how to make your network work for you?
I think the biggest thing, besides mindset and shifting that word networking into really building relationships, that would be the first piece of it. I think even more powerful than that is, as you're doing all of that work, remember to make the ask. When your network says, oh, I'm happy to help, let me know if I can help, they truly mean it. But what they typically won't be doing is going out of their way to find those opportunities for you. But when you make a specific ask and say, here's one way you could help, would you be willing to do this? And you give them a really specific way to do that, such as a blind referral or a direct referral, finding someone at the company that they can put a good word in, for instance, for you. People are very willing to do that because then they can actually help you with a specific request. So the more that you make that ask, and then you also offer specific help to your connections and your relationships, the more power your network will provide and will show you in the long run.
Next week, our guest will be Susan Towers. She's the founder of Sandy Mount Search. Her company offers search, recruiting, and career services for executives. You have a career goal, and you know you don't have the necessary experience and skills it requires. But using a technique called reverse mapping can help you figure out how to get there. Join us next Wednesday when Susan Towers and I talk about why you need to think about your career backwards. Until next time, thanks for letting us help you find your dream job. This show is produced by Max List. Susan Thornton-Hoff schedules our guests and writes our newsletter. Lisa Kislin-Berry Anderson manages our social media. Our sound engineer and editor is Matt Fiorillo. Dawn Mole creates our transcripts, and our music is by Freddie Trujillo. This is Mac Pritchard. See you next week. Because I run a job board, I talk to applicants almost every day. And many of the people I meet make the same mistake. They have no clear job search goals. So they apply everywhere, every day, all day long. You might think it's smart to send lots of applications. After all, it's a numbers game, right? It's not. The more you narrow your search, the easier everything gets, and the happier you'll be in your next job. Stop chasing every lead. Instead, focus on what you really want. Now, figuring out your goals can be hard, but we have a MaxList resource that can help. Finding focus in your job search. Go to maxlist.org/focus. Our free step-by-step MaxList guide will help you create your own job search goals. Get your copy today. Visit maxlist.org/focus. Again, that's maxlist.org/focus.